Hey guys, good morning everybody. Today is Thursday, November 20th. It is 6:26 right now. We got market opening up in about 4 minutes. A lot of entries for today. So kind of excited to see if something here comes up pretty well. Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens here in a few. So anyways, we have about, let's see, we have about one, two, three, four, five target entries for today. That's a lot of target entries compared to what we've had lately. Um, and most of them are with momentum. So we'll see what happens here when market opens up. ATR is currently at 14 right now. A lot of news today, guys. So just another reminder, a lot of jobs data. So the jobs data from September, October, and for November, all in one day, because of the government shutdown, of course. So we'll see. And Masij, no problem, no worries. You know what I've realized from yesterday is that the data isn't exactly the best on the 3 weeks, so that's all good. All right, just give me 1 second, guys. I'm actually gonna stop sharing my screen real quick. Or I can just do this real quick. I guess I need to re-log into my trading view over here. I'll just drag this over real quick. So I don't share my password with you guys. Okay, looks good. Let me put this back now. There we go. So, all right, guys. Good morning, everybody. Today is Thursday, November 20th. Man, this month flew by, guys. It's crazy how fast November went by. We took almost no trades this whole month, which is crazy. I was just looking at the statistics. Like November is only a few trades taken versus October. We were like fully stacked last month compared to this month, but it's okay. That's just how the market is. We talked about that yesterday. It's just sometimes there's gonna be some weeks where, or some months where the market's just a lot slower. Plus the fact that we're going into the winter season, usually the market's slower during this time anyway, so it's not like a surprise that market kind of slowed down a bit. But we got market opening up shortly in about 30 seconds, guys. If you're looking to take the breakout over here, of course, it's going to be against momentum. It has a 60% weighted average, overall average of 55%, buy probability of 45, sell probability of 66. So obviously you want to look for a sell here. And it's starting to set up here in a few. So we'll see what happens here when market opens up shortly. First target entry is going to be at 6:32. We have some high impact news coming up again in a bit at 7 o'clock. Thanks, Nikki, for the heads up on that one. So, all right, guys, we'll see what happens here. So let's see who's here so far. Morning, Alad. Morning, Masij. Morning, Mendez. Morning, Ryan. Morning, Karen. Morning, Maria. Morning, Lila. Morning, Ed. Morning, Nikki. Morning, guys. Yeah, Masih said, yeah, 4 week is much better, at least for now. Pre-market is already at far above VWAP. Yeah, it's very overextended based off the news right here at 5:30. So, surprisingly, not very much volatility here on open candle. The opening candle right here is, for the most part, flat. Um, so we'll see what happens here as price continues to move along. So I'm not in this position, of course. I'm looking for this one later, maybe at 6:32. Big spike to the upside. I mean, obviously, I would probably not look for the sell here because, the big push right here is very bullish for the jobs data. So I wouldn't really want to go against it for the most part. We do have the entry coming up right here at 6:32. As much as I've been wanting to take the 6:32 entry, the main problem with this here is the fact that we have this huge, huge push prior to it, right? So I don't really want to take a trade when it's overextended. Like right now, I think this is going to be very, very overextended. I think this is an overhyped price to the push, an overhyped price push to the upside, mainly because of the 5:30 news this morning, right? This candle over here was it pushed price really high up and it's still continuing up. And the fact that I'm seeing this big wick on top right here, this is what always sways me away from taking the 632. So if you guys want to take the 632 candle, the candle's going to close in a few moments. However, there's a huge wick right here, so I would be very, 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 very careful if you want to take this buy here. Not to say it's not going to push up, but because I'm seeing that huge wick right there and an overextension, I think the 632 is going to be a little tricky. I mean, as much as I want to take it, the probabilities are really good. Because my stop loss is so tight, I'm not really willing to take that risk here at the 632. As much as I want to take it, any type of retracement pullback would really, obviously stop me out. So I'm not in this position right here for 632, but again, if you guys want to take it, this was the first target entry for today. I mean, it's probably going to hit and then it'll probably turn around a little later, but it looks like it's about to hit right now. It's on its way up. ATR is currently at 35 right now, so it's looking pretty good with regard to volatility. Almost at its target right there. Well, actually, no, it's one more candle. Sorry, guys. One more candle. One more after. So it actually hasn't filled yet. I just realized this is the 632 candle. So this candle is about to close in about 10 seconds. This here is going to be the setup for 632. Again, if you guys want to take it, feel free to take it. For me personally, I just don't like the way. Well, for me personally, I would never be too comfortable with this big push to the upside like this. I don't know if I'll ever be comfortable with a big push like that because see how it's retracing back. This would have thrown me off, and due to slippage, this could have probably stopped me out, of course. So I don't want to take a trade when the volatility is too high because I'm putting too much volume in the market, and it's going to be easy for me to get slipped out. So did not take that 632 entry right there. It did exactly what I was concerned about, right? I was worried that price was going to pull back and reverse, or not reverse, but at least retrace back. And that's exactly what happened there. I'll be looking for possibly over here, closer to 639, maybe a continuation to the downside. But like I said, because price pushed up so high, I was worried it was going to retrace back like this before pushing up higher. And that's exactly what happened here, right? This is why you don't want to enter a position when price is overextended, especially if your stop loss is too tight, right? A 20-point stop loss, it's impossible to handle any type of retracement. So yeah, no entry there for me. I'll continue looking for the next opportunity here. Next opportunity is going to be at 635. This is a non-targeted entry. Has a 60% weighted average, overall of 50%, buy percentage of 70, sell percentage of 30. 2 out of 4 wins out of the 4-week average or 4-week sample, and you're going to be looking for a buy here. So we'll see what happens here. Jonathan took the breakout from this morning. Again, guys, the breakout, it just kind of depends on the direction that you guys want to take it, right? If you want to take it with the algo, it's always going to be against. So this is going to be a tough call because most of the time we try to go with momentum with regard to the breakout. This is the actual breakout. So here are Jonathan's profits so far for the day. Nice work, Jonathan, on catching this. He took the buy for 50-50 and he locked in about $1,000 so far. So right there, nice work, Jonathan. And again, that's like the reason why I don't like taking the uh the breakout on open because they're always conflicting in a sense. All right, so 635 right here, it's going to be a buy entry, guys. If you guys want to take it, this could possibly bounce off the pivots and shoot right back up. It's not a target entry for me, so it's not one that I'm looking to take, but it is going to set up right here for a buy. It's with momentum, 60% weighted average. It's not high enough. I need it to be above 65 in order for me to take that trade. Next one's going to be at 639, so that's going to be the one that I'm actually looking for. I don't know if this is actually going to come up, but this is the one that I'm going to be looking for a little later. So looking at the stats over here, it looks like this is a start of a reversal, right? It looks like this is going to be a start of a reversal to the downside because these are all going to be for sells right here between 639 and 716. So it looks like eventually price is going to flatten out right here and then reverse to the downside. We got some market structure right here. It's hitting a resistance point. That 635 entry is currently running right now. Looks like it already hit full TP. There you go. So full TP right there for the 635 entry, guys. For those of you who decided to take that, again, it's not a target entry, so not one that I was personally looking to get into. Let's see, 6:29 a.m. This was a loss. 6:32 a.m. This was a loss as well. 6:35. This was a win. So currently at break even so far, it looks like. With regard to the entries which have came up so far. Okay, so I'm gonna clean that up right there. I already put the statistics right here. So currently for the day so far, 629 loss, 632 loss, 635 won, negative 2R for the first two, and then positive 2R for 635. So we're documenting all the trades here like we talked about before, guys. I'm not necessarily taking every trade. A lot of times things have to line up with what I'm looking for, right? So I'm gonna see shares that price is above 350. Is 350 above VWAP? It's too overextended. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I definitely agree with you on that one. So we'll see where this ends up going. Hey Sam, nice. Sam caught 100 points for gold sell. Let's see what YM has for us. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see as this continues to move along. Guys, just another update with StoneX. I've been getting a lot of messages about like when we're going to transition over. I'm hoping by next week we're going to be able to start transitioning over, guys. I talked to the regulators this week. They're going to have an answer for me by the 26th latest. So it could happen anytime before that. Um, they're either going to tell me to make more changes to my disclosure document or they're going to approve it and we'll be good to go. I'm assuming they're going to approve it, guys, because they keep calling me to ask me specific questions. And I think they're just trying to clear things up so that we can just get it up and going. And we talked about this yesterday too. You know, they kind of want me to stop operations for Cody Kai trades with regard to the strategy. Um, reason for that is, I mean, I can't say exactly what the reason is, but I mean, obviously you guys can tell it's mainly because they don't really want or not them, but in general, we don't want to be sharing institutional type strategies with the general public, right? Because retail doesn't really understand how institutions trade very much. A lot of people think everybody trades technical analysis off the charts, but realistically, uh, most institutions and hedge funds and whatnot, we trade off quantitative data and we use technicals just for a not confluence, but just like as an addition to like what we're taking. Like for example, here, I already have the trade set up, right? 639 is not going to come up as you guys can see. It's with momentum, has a 68% probability weighted, 50% overall, 25 buy, 87 sell. We're looking for a sell here. This trade's not going to be a sell, it's going to be a buy, right? So we're not taking the entry here. There's no entry for 639. So with that being said, you know, this is an example of like how most institutions and hedge funds trade. We use the quantitative data as a foundation, and a lot of funds, they typically will use technicals as just a confluence, right? So for example, here, if we had a buy entry and price is bullish, that could give us the confluence that, you know, the buy here could probably play out. Um, the the main way that a lot of hedge funds and institutions trade is that they trade or not hedge funds in general, but just CTAs in general, like myself, we typically trade momentum trend, right? Um, and that's kind of like how majority of people trade. Like most people who are systematic try to trade with the trend. We don't always trade with the trend, but for the most part, we try to trade with the trend, and we use momentum as a catalyst for entry. So. Just something to keep in mind, but that's kind of like what's happening with regard to Cody Kai trades versus Cody Kai Capital. Obviously, the main focus was going to transition to Cody Kai Capital anyway, so you know I'm not looking to really make this super open to the public, but we'll still have live sessions. So I had a question about that yesterday. The live sessions are still going to go on. It's just sharing the algorithm with the public is really what's changing for the most part, which is not even available now. So it's not going to make a difference. That's what we're going to do it anyways to begin with. All right, so 6:39, that one's done with. The next entry is at 7:01. The problem with the 7:01 entry is that we have news at 7 o'clock. It's high impact, I believe. It's existing home sales. So this might affect the entry at 7:01. I mean, we'll see. It's for a sell. We'll see what happens there. All right, Masij is sorry, I'll have to head out early today. Was not going to trade at all due to the news. Hope you guys catch some good moves. All right, Masij, we'll see you back here tomorrow. Yeah, no problem. Glad you could join us this morning. Yeah, a lot of news this morning. So, like for example, we talked about this earlier this week. I mentioned there's gonna be a lot of volatility today because of the news that happened at 5:30. All of the jobs data that came out for the past 3 months was released right here for the most part, aside from NFP data. Um, and that's why you had this big push at 5:30, right? At 5:30, this thing pushed up about 100, yeah, about 112 points. And then price consolidated, pushed back up, consolidated further, and pushed back up further from there. So, with that being said right here, we do have a couple areas of structure to maybe look out for. Not super, super necessary, but just areas to look out for here, of course. Once a floor here is established, which I think it has, I'll mark up this right here. So you guys can see how price is kind of chopping up around this area right now. Let's see if it breaks above and continues to push up higher. All right, I'm just drawing structure right here. The structure isn't super necessary, but I'm just drawing it up so that you guys have a visualization of like where price moved for today so far. And if price ends up coming back down to these areas, at all today. So there's no entries until 7:01. If you guys have any questions, feel free to put your questions in the chat. I'm just marking up some structure here. I'll go to our main markup chart and I'll mark up typical structure. I mean, it's pretty obvious right here. It's bullish, right? So you don't really have to look too much to see where you think price is going to go to. I mean, obviously right now it's consolidating between this middle area. So what I'd be looking for is, and there's going to be movement here once we get to the 7:01 entry because there's high impact news at 7 o'clock. What I'd be looking for here is for price to either break below or above, right below to that point there, or above and higher for direction. But right now, that stuff's not really. Here, I'll make these zones a little bit smaller where they're kind of relevant. They're not too relevant having them out so far. Yeah, like the relevance of these zones here aren't super necessary in a sense. Just to see where price kind of was like sitting. If price ever comes back down and retests these areas, then okay, great, I'll make some adjustments. But for the most part, not super necessary here. All right, we got some downtime right now. We got about 6:46 right now. So we got about maybe 15 minutes until 7 o'clock. These are zones that I drew from previous days. So you can see over here, price is still respecting the previous zones from, I think, Monday. We don't really have much here right now. We do have a resistance that's kind of starting to set up from this high point. Here, I'll just extend these out. It's a little bit of structure around here. So what I'm looking at right now is that price is stuck within this imbalance. Big imbalance right here. I mean, it's pretty obvious right here. There's an imbalance right here, but if you look over here at our main chart, price is still stuck within this consolidation range, right? So there's not really much going on with price currently at the moment. I was hoping there was going to be more directional moves today because of all the news, but there really isn't. Price is still kind of consolidating around these areas and not really doing too much. Um, I mean, you guys can kind of see here how price has been moving along. There really hasn't been too much movement. Yeah, just a ton of consolidation here, as you guys can see. So consolidation right here, pre-market, price pushed up after that big news event at 5:30. Consolidation, price pushed up, consolidation, price pushed up, consolidation. It's basically staircasing to the upside, right? We talk about this a lot with regard to technicals, how price kind of staircases, it consolidates, pushes up, consolidates, pushes up, consolidates, pushes up, consolidates. Again, right here, I'm expecting the same thing, right? Push up, consolidate. It's just staircasing to the upside. It's this just shows that a lot of people are starting to like follow this upwards trend. The problem with following the upwards trend like this is that eventually it's going to turn around, right? It can't push up forever. Looking over here at market structure, as you guys can see, it's currently very bullish across the board. The 1 minute's bullish, 5 minutes bullish, 15's bullish, 30 minutes bullish, 4 hours bullish, and the 4 hour is neutral. With that being the case, I mean, price over here kind of sat at the imbalance, shot right through. This can easily fake out and then pull back into the range down here, right? And that's something that a lot of people want to be cautious of because that happens a lot. Like I mentioned before, I'm mainly looking at the quantitative data right here. This is going to be my main crux of why I'm looking for entries, and the technicals here are just a additional confirmation after the fact. So like if I'm looking for a sell here, ideally I'd like price to kind of come below and look like price is going to reverse to the downside, right? If price is sitting up here very strongly, I probably wouldn't want to take the sell here unless it's very overextended and I'm looking for it to retrace back to the pivots, right? So for example, if price pushes up pretty high, then I would look for possibly a 40-point push back down to the pivots right here. It's a 70-point drop. So that does give us opportunity for a retracement to retest the pivots here because you can see how price is retesting the pivots. Price can also retest the pivots and then come back up, a W pattern or whatnot. So just a couple things there to look at. If you look over here at the trend, everything is sort of trending up except for the 4 hour, the 1 minute, 5 minute, 15 minute. You can see prices above the pivots, trend meters green, pivots are angling up. 30 minute right here as well, price is above the pivots, trend meters green, pivots are angling up. The 1 hour over here, price is currently shifting to the upside as well. And the 4 hour over here is currently below the pivot. So with that being the case, we will continue looking um, for what's to uh, continue from where price is currently at. You can see here price is currently retesting the resistance. So price broke above this resistance right here. And I'm not using the technicals here for my analysis, right? I'm just showing you guys this is kind of what's happening. I'm giving you guys a storyline of like how price is moving here. Price is currently above the resistance. It's retesting. There's one of two things that are going to happen here. Price is either going to bounce off here and push up higher, or price is going to fake out from this upper point and pull back into this lower range, right? Basically just fake out here and pull back into this lower range. Again, I don't care about the technicals or the fundamentals here. What I'm looking for here is really for my setup to come up at this specific time because everything I do is time based, and then I'm using the technicals over here as a confluence. Like, so it's going to be a sell at 701, right? It's obviously not going to be in line with the trend here because the trend's very bullish. And the thing is, every other entry here is going to be a sell. So at 701, I probably won't be looking to get in right away. But there's another one at 702 and 716 where price may kind of shift back down and possibly give me opportunity somewhere down here, as it sets up for a possible reversal. So we are just waiting for some sort of confirmation here. Samson, Sean, when you have time, any views on YM after these new news releases? Um, so here's a problem. Everything is bullish, right? So with existing home sales over here, this is forecasted to be, well, we're in the winter season, so existing home sales are historically low. Or this is for October, actually. So since this is for the last month of October, this is probably going to be bullish. And with this being bullish, I think it's going to put more fire below the bullish push to the upside, right? But that's a problem because if this thing's so bullish, I think that's if everybody's thinking what I'm thinking, then I think price might actually do the opposite, right? So I think the news here will probably be bullish. We might get an initial push up at 7 o'clock, like slight push and then reversal. That's kind of what I see happening because I mean it's going to be pretty obvious, right? Everybody's looking for price to push up, and in order for the market makers to kind of stop out these retail sellers or retail buyers, they'll probably just they're going to take profit at this point because this thing's pushed up so high since 5:30. The people who bought down here are already looking to take profit, right? Because they're up already 400 points, so they're looking to liquidate their positions. So I think, and it looks like it's starting to happen here. See how price is faking out? Consolidation, fake out, set up for reversal down here. It looks like our entries here are starting to set up pretty well. So our 701 entry over here has a 67 weighted average for probability, 55% overall, 30% for buys, and 80% for sells. Looking at the previous entries over here. So with that being the case, the most recent entry was on the 13th. It was a win for a sell. The following entry for that was on the 6th. It was a win for a sell. The one before that was on the 30th. It was a loss, but it was for a buy, obviously. And then the one before that was a win for a sell. So all of the sell entries for the past 4 weeks, about a month, was a win for a sell. So we're starting to set up for that right now. You can see here how price is starting to come below. And yeah, we'll see where that goes. Hey, what's up, Justin? How's it going, bro? All right, so we are right here. A lot of people, so this is a question I've been getting a lot too, from a lot of people. The difference between my algo and bots, right? Bots are different. Like bots are just they're just systematic trading, I guess, tools, right? My algo here doesn't automatically take trades. It's not a bot. What it does is it gives probabilities for entries. Um, I mean, I could technically automate this, but I wouldn't because, due to slippage, you guys have seen some of the entries that we take. There's a lot of slippage in a lot of instances. But a lot of people are asking, well, not a lot of people, a good handful of people are asking, um, what the differences are between the two. Bots can be based off, quantitative data, or bots can be based off, um, specific technical analysis. Um, in a sense, a bot is more similar to the algo versus the algo being similar to a bot, because the algo over here pretty much it's its own strategy. But with the bot, you for the most part just would automate something. Like, for example, if you have your bot set to, if price breaks below the pivots and closes and it takes a sell, that's how a bot would react, right? Because you have to give it systematic criteria. Same with my strategy here for the algo, right? For the algo here, it confirms when momentum moves in a certain direction, right? What it does is it's time based, and it looks for certain probabilities when entries come up. Um, the only difference is that it's not automated, but it can be. So just something to keep in mind, guys. The thing with bots is that they're not always going to be, I mean, they might look profitable, but then once you start to factor in slippage, execution, fees, etc., it might not be as profitable as some people may seem. Because like back testing, I always tell you guys about this too. Like back testing isn't, it's not a good metric for how the trade's actually going to be executed in live markets. So just something to keep in mind as well if you guys are looking into bots. Bots are a good way to trade if you have a problem with, trade psychology, because they're systematic and they kind of just take the trades as they're supposed to be taken. But there's a lot of different factors that go into specific bots, of course, depending on the strategy. All right, guys, we have the setup over here coming up at 7:01. It was starting to set up for a sell right here once we had the sell signal come up, but now we have a buy signal. So obviously it's looking like it's not going to come up here at 7:01. I was really hoping the market here was going to be moving a lot smoother to the downside, but it's looking like it's still continuing to push to the upside. Obviously you guys can see right here, this is the main meat of the market, right? Price is staying down here. Whenever price pushes out of these walls, basically to the upside, or it fakes out back to the bottom. If it pushes below these walls, probably fake out right back to the middle right here. So we'll see how price here starts to react. We do have high impact news coming up in about a minute. So at 7 o'clock, we have existing home sales. I'm expecting this to be bullish. So what I'm possibly looking for here, or looking to see happen here, is price is probably going to push up slightly and then come back into the range down here. You can see it's already setting up. So see how price is pushing up right here? This is like a pre-news movement, right? Because news is going to happen in about 30 seconds. Everybody is expecting this to be bullish, and I'm expecting it to be bullish too, right? Jobs data is supposed to be bullish for October, because obviously there's a lot of new existing home sales, and you can see here it's forecast to be positive as well. It went from 4.06 to a forecast of 4.08. Doesn't necessarily mean it has to be very bullish, but we'll see what happens here in the next 10 seconds once it's released. So we got it happening right about now. And there goes new home sales right there. Price is pushing up. It's doing exactly what we anticipated. A little bump up right there. The news was positive. It did exactly what we just talked about, right? I mentioned this was going to be positive. As we enter into the winter season, it's going to start to slow down. That's just how the housing market works. Usually it picks up a little bit during the fall, and then people don't typically want to move in the winter, so the numbers kind of drop down a little bit. So what I'm seeing here, or what I might see here, is price may start to trickle back down into this range. See this big wick on top? They lured in the buyers there. Now they're starting to liquidate their positions to push back into this range. And by the when I say they, I'm not talking about retail traders. I'm talking about institutions, of course. Retail traders don't really have enough power to push price or push market. Most retail traders are trading on like Apex and stuff anyways. You guys got to remember, people who are trading on prop firms, they're not moving the market because they're not trading in a real market. It's just traded in an artificial demo market. The real people who are moving the market are people who are actually in the live market with live funds. So, I think as we get closer and closer, or not closer and closer, as we get if people as people get more familiarized with prop firms, there's not going to be as many retail traders in like the live market as much. I mean, there's going to be a couple, of course, people who want to trade their actual money, but as people start to become more familiar with prop firms, prop firms make sense to some extent if you're okay with trading with the rules. But yeah, there's a big difference there between live traders and prop firm traders. All right, so 701 right here, guys, there was no entry. Man, I was really hoping there was going to be more entries today. The 702 is also going to be no entry because, I mean, obviously there's no sell signal there, right? So looking at this right here, guys, there again is no entry for either of these. Next one to set up for is going to be the 716. All right, so no entry for both of these right here. There was some pretty decent target entries which came up, but they just don't meet the criteria. So again, let's take a look at the entries for this morning. So 629 was against momentum. That was a loss for a 1R. 632, that was a loss for a 1R. 635 was a win for 2R. 639, there was no entry here because it was for a sell, but we had a buy signal, which was right here. 701, it was a sell, but there was no sell signal there, so there's no entry. 702, same thing. We were looking for with momentum for a sell. There was no sell signal there, so no entry. Next one is going to be at 716. It's going to be against momentum. We'll be following it here to see if it comes up. 736, 743. It's like we talked about before, guys, it's just the type of market that we're currently in right now. Same with Masij, he mentioned, or he already anticipated there not to be very many entries today because of the high impact news event this morning. There's just a lot of news that happened right here at 5:30. It pushed price up, and then now I mean, obviously it's overextended. We're kind of waiting for it to start to turn to the downside. Might happen, might not, but we'll see. So no entries here so far. Next entry is going to be at 716. So we got about 13 minutes till then. If you guys have any questions, feel free to hop into the chat. Otherwise, we'll keep looking for the next opportunity over here. But um, there's not too much going on. The volatility is back down to 25, starting to slow down a little bit. I'm not going to mark up any structure here because it's just unnecessary. I think price is going to pull back into this range anyways. If we start to climb up higher, then great. I'll mark up some structure up here. But we just don't need it right now, right? There's just no structure at the moment. I guess I can mark that up if you guys want to see that. I guess that kind of helps a little bit. This kind of shows that price is in this bigger range. There's a smaller consolidation range here, then there's a bigger one right here. See how price is having trouble getting past this area. So what I'm looking for here is I'm looking for a ceiling to be established and then looking for a possible reversal back down. This entry at 716 is going to be for a sell. So what I'd like to see here is possibly a retracement down slower, maybe slower from where it's at right now, maybe just a consolidation around this area with no sell signal and then reversal down. Um, we'll see what happens here. Again, a lot of no entries for today. There's only one more target entry. There's 4 target entries for today. Majority of them were no entries. The 716 right here has a weighted average of 70.36%. Overall is a 55.00 probability. Buys have 38% probability and sells have 85.71. So looking over here at this entry at 716, you can see for the buys over here, it only won 5 out of the previous 13 entries. That's so low. And the buys over here, or the sells over here, won 6 out of the previous 7. So not as many setups here for the sell, but when they do happen, they usually hit. So we'll see here. I mean, price is still stuck within this consolidation range like we talked about, and there's not really much here happening. Like I mentioned before, see how price is pulling back into this lower range? So I said this up here doesn't really matter too much because whenever it pulls out, it pulls back into the range, right? Pushes out right here, fakes out, pulls back into the range. Pulls out right here, fakes out, pulls back into the range. So this stuff here doesn't really matter very much because it just pulls back into this lower area anyways, right? Fake out, pull back into the middle range right here. So guys, if there's any questions that you guys have, feel free to put your questions in the chat. This is really one of those really, really slow months. I mean, this is like I think this is the hardest part of trading, right? To be able to sit on your hands. We talk about this a lot. Um, I mean, I'm itching to take a trade, honestly, and I'm pretty sure you guys are itching to get into a trade too. But this is usually what makes or breaks a trader, right? If you get um like if you feel the pressure to take a trade and there's no setup there, like for example, see how price is starting to dump into this range right here. I could already see people are thinking to chase this down for a sell. The problem is price may just actually sit within this area. So whoever chases the sell might get screwed as it pushes back up. Or vice versa, price can easily break below here and full on reverse. That could be the case there as well. I'm looking here. Let me go to our markup chart. So price here is actually retesting the imbalance from earlier. So price is now currently balanced, right? Price pushed up, created imbalance, balanced off the imbalance, and now it's back imbalanced within the imbalance. So this push to the upside right here created an imbalance, and now it's coming back down to clean up the imbalance. The price is now currently balanced in a sense. Here's the market profile. So in order for price to actually be balanced, it has to come back down to this green box down here. This is like the actual balance with regard to volume. That's why I personally don't like looking at imbalances based off, I guess, like chart analysis. I like going based off the actual volume here. So again, like in order for this to rebalance, it's going to have to come back down to this point here, which is at 46,484. And I don't think this is going to happen anytime soon. This is a big drop, right? If you're to drop from this high point to here, this is almost a 500 point drop. I mean, it could eventually happen, but I don't know. We'll see. Right, so price is currently pulling below. Like I said before, there's two things that may happen here. Price is either going to sit within this range, or three things actually. Price is going to sit within this range, which is not the case. Now that we kind of taken that out of the equation, there is another thing that might happen here. Price may fake out and pull back into the range. Or the other last scenario is price breaks and retests from this area and drops down lower, right? I think those are the two scenarios now that are left. It's either going to break and retest, continue dropping, or it's going to fake out and pull back into this consolidation range. Those are the possibilities right there. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. There's no other news event aside from gas stock change at 7:30. That's not going to affect the market too much. And see how price is faking out right here, pulling back into the range. It's doing exactly what I talked about earlier. So if we take these off, let me just take this off real quick. I mentioned whenever price pulls out of this right here, it pulls back into the range, fakes out, pulls back into the range, fakes out, pulls back into the range. These aren't the ideal market conditions to be trading, a directional strategy, of course, because the market's not directional here. It's really just sitting within this meat of the market, which is in the middle. So like if you're trading liquidity sweeps, this is actually good because it's sweeping every way, right? Price comes down, sweeps off this level here, pulls right back up. Vice versa here, price comes up to this area, sweeps off this level, pulls back into the range. So I mean, these are ideal conditions if you guys are looking to take sweeps, but I don't really take sweeps anymore, right? Because I don't have quantitative. If I had quantitative data on the sweeps, I would maybe take it, but I just don't have the data on that, so I'm not taking those types of entries. Um, the problem with sweeps is that they come up so often, so it's hard to really have quantitative data on them, right? You can see over here, there's so many sweeps that came up just now. It's hard to really determine if it's an actual sweep or if it's, a fake out. iPhone said, "Hey Sean, I took the 639 and 702 entries for sells, was able to catch +2 on both. Nice work, iPhone. Solid, yeah. So it looks like you still took them even though they didn't show up with the momentum. So this goes back to what we were talking about last week and earlier this week too. The momentum here is a lot of times it doesn't really like you don't have to be so stuck on the actual momentum signal. The momentum signal just helps identify if it's going to be, a set in stone type of direction. But for the most part, if you can look to see if price is going to set up, like for example, iPhone over here took 632. Let me just go back and reanalyze that point right there. So the 632 over here, we were looking for a possible, or no, actually the 630, 639, my bad. 639 was for a sell right there. Let me go. 639 was right here. So just looking at this right here, you can see that this area right here, these three candles identified that price was starting to flatten out. And then with that, as we got closer to 639, you can see the red candles right here would confirm that price was going to continue dropping. So with iPhone over here, even though we didn't have a sell signal, this trade still came up right there for an entry. And I mean, it looks like it didn't hit though. Did you have a wider stop loss on that? I'm assuming you probably had a wider one iPhone. It looks like it would have gotten stopped out possibly because the candle right here spikes so heavily at 640. Looks like you might have gotten in a little later and maybe survive that spike to the upside. But that's something that you guys can do if you want to go based off just, the direction where the probabilities are the highest and kind of use the price action to see when it's going to actually turn. And iPhone also mentioned 702. So again, right here, same thing. You can see how the ceiling started to get established. The way that I see the ceiling here established, guys, is if there's three candles that are touching each other, like the bodies are touching, this is usually, it's starting to show that price is starting to flatline to an extent. And then from there, if you have a confirmation of a red candle, like say, for example, this right here, this could indicate that the sell signal is likely to start to set up soon, which it did eventually right here, two candles later. Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So iPhone said, yeah, slippage helped this time with both. That's good. Yeah. There's instances where slippage does help sometimes, um, in a good way. Unfortunately for me, it's happened in a bad way, so it doesn't really help me very much. But yeah, no, I agree. It does help in a sense. All right, so we have the entry right here at 716 coming up, guys. The problem with this here is that we don't have it against momentum, right? Again, this goes back to what I just talked about. If you guys still want to take the trade here, I think the trade could be a good trade, personally. Personally, I think the trade could still be a good trade, depending on how this candle here ends up closing in the next candle. If these next two candles close with little to no wicks on the bottom end, then this could be a possible good entry for 716 for a sell, even though it's not against momentum. However, because my strategy requires that I have to follow momentum here, there's already going to be no entry. I already know there's no entry here before it happens because we don't have a buy signal here, right? So, like I said, the strategy doesn't work very well when the market's not volatile, right? The market's actually really, really slow right now. It's slower than I was expecting. Um, we had volatility here at 5:30 and then on open. Other than that, market here kind of flattened out a bit. So Again, if you guys have any questions, feel free to put your questions in the chat. Unfortunately, today is just another one of those days, right? Another day of a lot of no entries. Let's see. Mendez is asking, can you explain how did he win the 702 with the sell? Let me go check real quick. So he went against momentum here. So what I'm seeing from iPhone is that iPhone is not really looking at the momentum criteria here, right? So just say, for example, you just kind of black this out, right? Just say, for example, you're not looking at momentum, then you're just looking at the averages. So at 702 over here, it had a 65% probability overall or weighted, and it was for a sell, right? It won three out of the four recent entries. Looking at this right here at 702. So 702 right here closed, right? And if you put the criteria there, 40, 20, the trade right there hit. Um, yeah, so I mean it hit right there. So like basically what iPhone is doing is ignoring the momentum criteria and just taking whatever has a higher probability, right? And I do agree with that analysis too. It's just the way that my strategy works, and I have to follow with the way it works, right? Because I this is the whole point of the strategy is based off momentum. If you guys want to trade this way, I mean, you guys are more than welcome to do that. I personally don't recommend it because it kind of veers off what we're looking for specifically. But it does work, right? If you just I mean, it's just common sense when you go down with probabilities, right? If you go with something that's a higher probability and the price action is showing that it's going to turn, like for example, over here with iPhone, I think over here this would have made sense because it's like a double top, right? So using technical analysis with the fundamental or not the fundamentals with the algo here. So the algo would be the foundation, right? So if you look over here at 702, it has a 70% probability versus a buy here. So with that being the case, if you're just looking for a sell and you don't care about the momentum signals, say it's turn off the momentum signals here. So you don't care about any of this stuff, right? And you just know that the sells here have a 70% probability of it winning. If you see here, there's a double top, obviously you'd be like, okay, I'll take that sell regardless. So that is uh that is what I would look for there. Or I guess what iPhone looked for there in a sense. Yeah, no problem, Mendes. So this is what I mean about using, so you can use the algo here to identify what has a high probability of a direction. And then if you see this on the technicals, like this would just be an icing on the cake, basically. You already know there's a 70% chance of it hitting, and then you see there's a double top right here. This is just a final confluence. You're like, okay, I would take that trade because then in that situation, your ceiling is basically capped in a sense. Because if it goes past this area, let's see if it goes past the resistance over here, then okay, fine, you were wrong. But if it doesn't and it goes down like how it's supposed to, you'd be right. So that's what I mean about combining technical analysis with the algo. First, use the algo to have just the raw data, and then from there you can start to incorporate the trend or incorporate market structure or whatever you want to incorporate, right? I think that's probably the best way of doing it. Looks like a lot of you guys here actually caught the 716. I know is so the 716 again, there's two ways of doing this. It's either you follow the probabilities over here or you just follow where momentum is telling you to take the trade. So 716 right here, it was against momentum. Looks like CJ caught it and then Glenn caught it. They both caught it for a buy. And because the sell here would have lost. So you'd have to take it for a buy for it to win because they went against momentum. So there's two different ways of doing it. I mean, if you want to go, if you let me just put this over here. Oops. There. So you can either ignore momentum and just go off the probabilities, or you can ignore the probabilities and just go off momentum. Right? That's if you want to do it your own way. I wouldn't do it that way, but if you guys are wondering how certain people are taking these entries, you could take one or the other. It doesn't necessarily mean one or the other is going to be better, but for me, I like to use all of the factors here for my analysis, of course. So there was no entry there for me because it didn't meet the criteria. Um, but some people did take it. Glenn took it, and CJ caught it as well. And you can see over here the algo actually identified it for a buy as well. You can see the long position entered a buy right there, and it exited right there for full TP. Man, November is like a really frustrating month for me specifically because I was so used to taking so many trades in October, but there's just so many no entries here. There's just nothing. And again, right here, we're back in this range, right? So I pretty much talked about this all day today. I mentioned whenever price pulls out of this range, I said this before this even happened, like when price was over here, I mentioned whenever price pushes out of it, it's just going to pull back into this middle part right here, this meat of the market. So you can see price is just considering, or it's just sitting within this middle area with no consideration of pushing out of it. Yeah, I agree with you too, Mendez. It was a scary setup right there. But again, so like, we talked about earlier, guys, I could see why CJ and Glenn would have taken the buy there, right? Because there's a double bottom right here. Double bottom, set against momentum, rejected directly off that right there. So anyways, nice work, Glenn and CJ for catching that. Not something I would take personally because obviously I'm a very conservative trader, but for those of you who took it, I'm glad you guys made profit on that. Yeah, CJ said you got to remember I don't go by that. I use straight up momentum, algo, and pivots as confluence. Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, this goes hand in hand with everything that you've been taught over the years, right, CJ? CJ, you've been with me for how many years now? 8 years almost? Like original strategies are based off technical analysis. So CJ understands what he's looking at here. Um, this goes off a pivot scalp type setup, goes off a market flow setup. It goes as long along with what we originally used to apply. So yeah, I don't see anything wrong with that entry there, the entry that Glenn and CJ took, because that's typically how we would normally trade if I wasn't using the algo here. But like I mentioned, I have to stick to my trading plan here. The algo gives me the numbers, and if I have to skip out on certain entries like this to follow my numbers, then so be it. Yeah, CJ said, yeah, I can't unlearn what I've been taught. All the strats give us an edge. Yeah, like I mentioned, there's no one strategy that's going to kill it for you guys, right? Every strategy works. I mean, there are specific strategies that can kill it for you, but there's not just one that you have to follow. There's not just one style of trading. You can trade momentum, you can trade trend, you can trade algo, you can trade quantitative, you can trade however you like. You just got to stick to that specific style, though. For me, I have to transition to this quant style trading specifically for the hedge fund because everything is based off numbers, right? Like I can't trade discretionary as much. Um, because my main goal here is to really, make consistent profits based off the numbers. So yeah, I mean it's a change of pace for me for sure because now it's like, I mean the thing that sucks the most about this is that once I'm out of target entries, I'm kind of done for the day for the most part, right? I have other entries right here, but this doesn't meet my trading plan. My trading plan is to follow only the green entries. So it's all good. I'm really hoping we can get some more trades by the end of the month. I mean, if we don't, um, there's nothing different that I'm going to do, but I'm hoping that we get something because let's see, it's November 20th. Next week is Thanksgiving. We have another, I mean, technically we still have like, no, we only have one more week left of November. Damn, that's crazy. So for this month of November, I've only taken like two trades really, or maybe three, I forget. But yeah, really slow month compared to October here. This is why like you have to be in the market. Well, you don't have to be in the market all the time, but you have to be paying attention to the market. For the most part the entire month. Because if you missed October, like for example, there's people who join the hedge fund a little like a bit late, right? We were killing it pretty much in the beginning right here. And then people who started to join the hedge fund later in the month of October, you didn't really get all of this, all of the wins over here that happened earlier in the season. But it's okay. It'll balance out. You know, if you started late, it's going to balance out with time. It's just a matter of time until price does start to move more directional, and we have opportunities for entry. But right now, it's just this is what we're working with, and this is what we have to work with. All right. So let's see what else we got here. There's nothing here right now. Next entry is at 7:36. Again, if you guys have any questions, feel free to put your questions in the chat. Let's see. There's not much going on here, guys. Again, like I said, I marked up this range way before it happened, like literally on market open, and it's just sitting within this big range here. Big range, but the actual consolidation zone is down here. So much for volatile markets today. Looks like Masij made a good call of kind of wrapping it up. Let's see. So question from Mendez. Mendez said, which days are holidays next week? Sorry for the ignorance outside the US. No worries, Mendez. So the holidays next week are going to be on a Thursday and technically Friday. So you're going to see the market really slow down on Wednesday a little bit, but on Thursday it's going to be completely closed because that's actual Thanksgiving here in the US. And then Friday is Black Friday. The market will probably move a little bit. It's not going to be closed, but it's going to be pretty slow. Um, I'm assuming, this is probably your first year trading during the holidays. Um, but yeah, Wednesday's going to slow down a little bit. It's going to move normal, but it's going to slow down a little bit. Thursday for sure it's going to be closed because it's Thanksgiving, and then Friday it's going to be a little slow because it's Black Friday. So I'm really banking on something to happen either tomorrow, Monday, or Tuesday, or maybe Wednesday. Yeah, that's kind of how it's going to move. Yeah, no problem. You'll see if this is your first time trading during the holidays, you'll see the market really starts to die out. I mean, it's starting to die out now. Thing is, some people take earlier vacation, of course, right? That's why the market here is pretty flat. See how we're getting like this choppiness? This is usually why the market starts to flatten out around the winter because everybody's on holiday, right? For the most part. Or some people like to take a week early. Like we're technically a week out from Thanksgiving because today's Thursday, next Thursday's Thanksgiving. Some people just pull out of the market already, and you'll see the market. I think this is what you're going to expect for the next couple of days, basically. A lot of this stuff. But the thing is, it's been moving like this for the past couple of days already. I think this whole week we've had a lot of this choppiness and sideways movement. So what I'm going to do right now is while we wait here, I'm going to update the spreadsheet. Unfortunately, there's not very much here to work with, but I'm going to update the spreadsheet. So let's see. 629 was loss, -1, -1. 35 was a win. Two, and then pretty much no entries from then. Yeah, we had five target entries for today, but just a ton of no entries for the most part. All right, so I updated the spreadsheet so far. It's technically a break-even day overall. So one win, two losses, plus zero R. These are the stats for today so far. So again, right here, you see our price is pushing above the resistance, probably going to fake out, pull back into the range. Ideally, that's probably what's going to happen here. Otherwise, if it doesn't, it's probably going to keep pushing up higher. The trade over here at 736 is going to be against momentum. Has a 60% probability weighted, 55% probability overall, 50% for buys, 66% for sells. It won two out of the four previous entries. So in order for this at 736 to be an entry, we would have to have a buy signal valid up until 736. So like ideally, I would want no sell signal here to close. If there's a sell signal here that closes and no buy signal which comes up in between here before this time, then it's going to be another no entry, which is what it's looking like. We'll see. It's got 26 seconds left on it. All right, and there we go. As price fakes out back into the range. It's doing exactly what we talked about, right? How many fake outs today so far? Above? One, two, three. From down here, four, five. So basically fake out, pull back, fake out, pull back, fake out, pull back, fake out, pull back, fake out right here, pull back into the range. Again, not really much going on here. I'm trying to make it as clear as possible for you guys. If I take off the pivots here, even more obvious, right? If I take off the momentum here, even more obvious. You can see the storyline right here. There's not really much going on. The pivots might trick you to think that price is bullish, but it really isn't. It's really just going sideways. If you look over here on the higher time frames, I mean, it's kind of obvious right here on the five, a little more obvious. You can kind of see here how price has just been going back and forth, like between this middle area right here, right? Not too much. And there we go, as price pushes down lower. So again, if you're looking to take this intra right here at 736, you want to make sure that there's no sell signal that closes before then. Um, the probabilities aren't like super high, but they are still in the favor for a sell. The main downside here is that you're going to be going against momentum, of course, right? Or not momentum, against the trend. The trend here is bullish, but it is also at a resistance right here. Nice. Sam over here caught 100 pips for gold, catching the sell. Nice work, Sam. Here, I'll pull up gold real quick. Yeah, nice dump to the downside right there. It's a great work on that, Sam. All right, we'll see what happens here. This candle is about to close. So this is going to be the 736 entry. If you guys want to take it, this year is going to be for a sell. There's a little conflict. I mean, there's obviously some conflict here because you're going to be going against the trend. Again, it's up to your guys' preference if you want to take this trade. It's not a trade that I'm looking to take because it's not a target entry for me. And personally, I think the probability is just too low for me. 60% is not very high. I had a lot of high hopes for today. Going into this session last night, I saw all of the target entries and I was like, okay, great. There's got to be at least one entry for me to take. And unfortunately, there just wasn't. Criteria here just wasn't met. So the good thing is the good thing is I didn't take any losses. The bad thing is we've been kind of in this back and forth for a couple weeks now, maybe 2 weeks, first 2 weeks of November. All right, so the entry is running right there at 736, guys. If you guys want to take that entry, it is currently running in profit. Again, it's not a target entry for me, so it's not something I would typically look to take, but it is running there for those of you who are looking to get into it, of course. Right, not in this position. Would have been a good skip, looks like. Because that there would not have played through. All right, so no entry there for me. I mean, again, I'm not looking to take any of these down here. Like I said, the probabilities weren't very high for either side. I like taking it when it's heavily one-sided, right? When it is heavily one-sided. So I'll just put this right here. We're still documenting every entry here. It's not the entry I'd be looking to take, but, or sorry, there's no entry. There's a loss there, actually. All right, next one's at 743. This is in the next couple minutes here. This is going to be with momentum for a sell. So in order for this one to set up at 743, you would need to have a sell signal come up prior. So like between now and 743, you need to have a sell signal come up. These are no entries that I'm looking to take, of course. Like I mentioned, I'm not taking anything at all here because none of these are target entries for me. We're just documenting these trades as they come up. So again, like we mentioned earlier, guys, you might want to go, or you don't have to, but in a lot of instances, you probably want to go with the trend in a sense. So ideally, I would be looking for buys here, but everything here is for a sell, right? Doesn't mean it's not going to work out, but ideally, I would go with the trend if I can use it as the confluence. The probabilities here don't line up for a sell though, or for a buy. They're all for sells. Let's see. So the news right here at 7:30 was negative. We had natural gas stock change, all negative right there. Price pushing up a bit. So we'll see if it's starting to make it's trying to make a stride up here. So I don't know if this will actually hold, but you guys can see over here that price pretty much was testing this imbalance for a while. This imbalance basically turned into a support level, it looks like, for the most part. Or not really, yeah. This is where the consolidation was happening, and then this resistance over here basically turned into a support. So I basically would fake out a couple times right here, and then it broke above here, retested, and shot up from that point. Now we just wait. There's just nothing here for us to work with. But yeah, guys, again, if you guys have any questions, if there's any concerns, if you guys are curious about how certain things work for the algo, if you're curious about certain things that works with the hedge fund, I mean, feel free to let me know, guys. As I talked about earlier, I'm hoping to get our transition to our transition to StoneX by next week, hopefully. Let's see, when's the 26th? So they're supposed to let me know by the 26th, which is next Wednesday. So I'm hoping by next Wednesday we can start the transition. If anything, I want the transition to start to happen, first week of December, of course. Ideally, I think that's probably going to be best case scenario because I don't want you guys paying for data for two different places because it's going to reset again on December 1st anyways. Yeah. So ideally, we would like to see the transition happen between or around December 1st. Best case scenario. All right, here we go. As price pulls back into the range, it looks like this is going to be the fake out area. Okay, so I'm looking at these three candles right here. See how these three candles are touching the body? So this red candle right here is touching this body and this one. So I'm identifying this as a new resistance point. Settings on this. All right, so looking at this right here, guys, another resistance that was for the most part established. Sort of just lines up with what we had earlier. So nothing new here. Like I said, fake out, and pull back into this lower range. So if you guys are looking to take an entry right here, this is supposed to be with momentum. Unfortunately, there's not going to be an entry there again. So I'm looking over here, 743. This is a no entry. All right. Let's see. Question from Parker. Parker is asking, are you going to stay with the 4-week sample data, or is there a possibility of going back to the 3-week based on the minimum number of trades each day? So we're going to stick with the 4-week average until volatility picks up, Parker. I talked with Masij about it. Masij did some data testing on it. It's only about a 1.5% edge increase from going from the 4-week sample to the 3-week sample. So it's not a big edge. But what he also found is that when the market's moving pretty slow, like how it is right now, where it's very choppy, the 3-week sample isn't helpful, right? We tried the 3-week sample yesterday and actually it wasn't that good. There was a lot of entries that came up, but a lot of them still lost. It was more of a break even type day. And in a situation like that, you kind of just want to stick to the ones that you want to stick to higher quality versus higher quantity. So we're going to stick to the 4-week sample, at least for now. I think as we get into the spring season, we'll probably cut down to the 3-week sample because then we'll have more entries and there's going to be more volatility. But for right now, we're going to stick to 4 weeks, at least until maybe January or February, around that time period. Me and Masij are running tests pretty much every day. So we're running tests to see where the probabilities are highest and where we're going to find more quality entries. And right now with this choppy market, it's just the 4-week sample is better. You're going to have less target entries, but you're going to have higher quality entries to look for. I'm hoping that eventually, these are going to be more of a setups versus no entries, but like I said, November is probably going to be, I think November is just going to be a flat month in general. Hopefully December is going to pick back up, which I think will be the case. It's just we had the government shutdown happen for 2 months basically. There was a lot of speculation about what was going to happen. But now that the government shutdown has ended, we're basically back into a flat market. I think we're going to be flat until NFP data comes out next month. So first week of December, when we go back to normal schedule of economic events, I think then we're going to have more direction, more volatility. These are the news from yesterday. So if you guys saw the Fed news from yesterday, there was supposed to be a rate cut that was to happen in December, but it's looking like the Fed is not to cut rates in December. So everyone, this was a big talk last month or a couple months ago when we had the rate cut, I think in September or October, and people were expecting another one to happen in December. It's not looking like it because now that the data is starting to come out, I don't think they're looking to cut anymore. But we'll see. I mean, there's no guarantees, but we'll just have to wait until that happens. Let's see. Rashida said levels hit today for a buy. Nice. Yeah. Okay. So I'm looking at the levels too. Yep. Because we're like in the staircase type of movement, I can see how the levels here are hitting, right? Because we reach these levels and then it kind of just retests and pushes up higher, or it comes back below, right? Levels to the upside, levels to the downside, etc. Um, yeah, this type of market is actually perfect for a level strategy, Rashida, and I'm sure you're killing it because that's one of your strategies that you like to apply. Um, I don't have, or I do have levels right here, actually. Yeah. So looking at the levels right here, yeah, they did hit pretty nicely, it looks like. Depending on the levels that you're using, I'm assuming you're using the whole numbers. These are the 25 point marks, but either way, they would be hitting regardless. So like price broken close above this area, pushed up, broken close below this area, pushed up, pushed down. Yeah, I can see some nice setups here, depending on your levels, of course. If you're in the 50s, probably even better. Yeah, the 50s are a lot cleaner, actually. So if you guys are not familiar with the strategy, this is a level strategy. Rashida likes to use this a lot. I introduced this strategy to you guys pretty far back. Um, I'm kind of curious now to use this in conjunction with the algo. So let's see, 716 over here. We're looking for price to come down. No. 736, 743. Okay, so I think this right here would have been a good confluence. So like looking at this right here, guys. So just looking back at the 743 entry, you know how we didn't have an entry right here, but we were identifying momentum to come down. So like for example, here at 743, see the price never came down yet, but then as soon as it closed below it right here, it dumped down to that next level right there. Yeah, it's kind of interesting how you can use this, obviously, to your advantage looking for certain entries. So like I mentioned before, guys, the algo here is good with identifying direction, or not really direction, but momentum moves at these points. And then if you wait for a later confluence, you can actually use them in conjunction with my older strategies that we originally used to apply. I'm curious over here now. So like looking at 632, so this thing never broke above it. 635 was for a buy, never broke above it. 639 was for a sell. Huh. This actually works pretty well for the most part. I'd have to look into it a little more, but yeah, so 701 over here was for a sell. And you can see the price never came down at 701, but once it closed below right here at the level, could have rolled that down for like 50 points or so. It's actually it's actually a good confluence. Okay, cool. So this is something I might bring up to Masish. Because you guys can see what I'm looking at right here, right? Like basically what I'm looking at is we're looking for momentum to push at these specific times because that's what the algo identifies. But looking at this here, once it breaks structure, it actually does continue pushing that direction. It's like you're just looking for the movement to happen here. If it doesn't happen, you're waiting for it to follow after it. So I'll take a look. Um, I mean, I'll just keep looking at that in the future. Maybe I'll bring this up to Masij. Maybe he can put this into some sort of code to test it. So we have quantitative data based on that as a filter. CJ's asking, what TP stop loss do you suggest for using the algo on the 10 or 15 minute? I would base it off the ATR, CJ. So I base a stop loss off the ATR, just round it, and then your TP would be double that for a 1 to 2. So yeah, if you guys ever plan or want to trade on different time frames, I would just always base it off the ATR, right? Base your stop off the ATR. If you're going on a very high time frame, I would just round it down. Instead of rounding it up, round it down. So like for example here, let's jump up to, or let me go to like, so you said 10. Yeah, so if the ATR is like right there at 70, I would just use 70 as the threshold number. I would round it down because it's so high, right? So you do like 140 to 70, something like that. Yeah, because you're still technically trying to day trade, just on a higher time frame, of course. So again, if it's at 82, I would just round it down to like 80. I'll just round it down. Instead of rounding it up, I'd round it down. Because your target's going to be like 140 points. If your target ends up being like 200 to 300 points, that's a really far push to the outside. All right, here's the last entry for the day. It is at 7:53. It's against momentum, so this is going to be a sell entry coming up shortly. It looks pretty good actually because it's pushing below the pivots, but again, you're still going to be trading against the trend here. So it looks like the market structure is looking for a downside push. Man, it's funny that you mentioned the FTMO account. Guys, so unfortunately, I checked my FTMO account yesterday and it got closed to due to inactivity because I haven't traded on that FTMO account for like a couple months. And after I think a month or two, they pretty much just put your account inactive. Unfortunately, I don't know if I can get it back because they did give me an email warning to tell me that if I didn't take a trade within the next day or so, they were gonna shut it down. And unfortunately, it did shut down for me. So it's kind of a waste of an account for FTMO. I mean, it's okay. It sucks, but it is what it is. So if you guys do have an FTMO account, make sure that you guys um are using it. Because if you don't use it, they'll probably set it's inactive without you even knowing it. Let's see what we got here. Let me check the chat real quick. Let's see, PC said, have you ever taken a break from trading to recoup your thoughts without outside noise? Does Miss Sage get paid for this? What's Message? I don't know. Is that a typo? Sam said, you bored? PC. PC said, just curious, that's all. I'm just curious if Cody Kai was hiring or not. Um, so now I'm a little confused. I'm not sure if you're talking to me or Sam. But no, I never take a break from trading to recoup my thoughts from outside noise. The thing is, I actually like trading. A lot of people get stressed out with trading. For me, I like trading and I like analyzing the market and I like looking for new edges in the market. I'm always curious, I'm always curious. I'm looking for ways to improve my trading or stuff like that. So even in a situation like this where the market's very, very slow and there's nothing going on, I still like to be in the market. So guys, look, so this is what I talked about pretty much all day today, right? I mentioned how whenever price is outside the range here, it's going to fake out and pull back into the middle point, right? And that's exactly what happened here. This entry right here at 753 hit. So looks like today was a winning day overall. If you took every single trade, today was a winning day. Um, not 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 exactly the winning day I'd like overall because there's nothing here that came up for me specifically. But yeah, today was a winning day overall. So let's see, one, two, three losses for negative 3R, and then two wins for positive 4R. So we're currently up a net 1R for the day. So PC was asking, just curious, if Cody Kai is hiring or not. So right now we're not hiring. Unfortunately, we're not hiring right now. I still need to get my disclosure documents passed by the regulators. I think at some point in the future, maybe next year, we'll probably be hiring at some point as the hedge fund does get bigger. But right now we're just I can't really even operate right now in a sense because I'm waiting for the disclosure documents to come out. Once those are out, then we can, I can go full blown with the hedge fund. Right now, that's why I haven't really been I'm not advertising for the fund right now as much or telling you guys about it to sign up and stuff because I don't want people to sign up for NinjaTrader and then all of a sudden we move over to StoneX, the next couple days. So, yeah. That is it. Lila said, why are they all in your business, King? No, that's funny. I know you guys are messing around. And you guys are just curious. People ask me every day if we're hiring. Unfortunately, we're not. I mean, I'd love to hire people and have people on the team with us, of course, but right now I'm not even supposed to be really in operation until, which I'm not. I'm waiting for us to make that transition over to StoneX. Once you move over to StoneX, it's gonna be a lot easier because we're gonna have an account manager and then there will be someone there to onboard you. I feel like me onboarding people onto NinjaTrader was like a lot of work. And yeah, it was honestly it was a lot of work because I had to tell people how to sign up, what accounts to use, what to put in for your answers and whatnot. At least with StoneX, we have an actual dedicated account manager um, to onboard everybody manually. So let me update this real quick, guys. The algo entries. So 636 was a loss, negative 1R. 743, no entry. And then a win for 753. So today was a positive day overall. You can see the entry right here happened at 750, 753. The short position came up right here and it came down to full TP beautifully, right? So like I mentioned, there's no entries for me, but the algo is still identifying good entries. Like if you take every single entry here that which came up, you'd be in profit regardless, right? Let me go here over here to the spreadsheet. So guys, I post a spreadsheet every single day. If you guys want to see how the algo is doing overall, you can always look here. The algo is profitable on both ways. If you're taking every single entry, it's profitable for the month so for November so far. If you're taking only the target entries, you're still profitable for the month so far. Not a lot, but you're still profitable, right? This shows you like these are the real numbers for the algo. So this shows you that the algo is profitable as long as you follow it how you're supposed to. You can do it, you can make any other type of variation to it, but if you follow it just as it's supposed to be applied, you should be profitable regardless of the fact, right? Again, I have to make this disclosure that, past performance doesn't necessarily mean that there's going to be future profit or future profitability, but the numbers here speak for themselves, right? This shows you that if you take every single entry and you stick to the game plan and you don't make any changes, you should still be you should be in profit. For me, I'm like at break even so far, so it wouldn't make a difference. At least I don't have to pay all that in fees. If we add up all the entries here for everything, so let's see, 1R, 9R, minus 2, that's 7R, minus 2, that's 5R, plus 2, that's 7R, minus 1, that is 4R, and then plus 1, that's back to 5R right there. So for the month, not even the whole month, but this is just from November 12th to 20th. If you were to do the calculations, let me just show you guys real quick. If you were to trade with the average is about 5 contracts, right? So 5 times 20 times 5R. Profit for the month so far is not a crazy amount, but it's still profit, 2,500. That's if you took every single trade. If you were to take just the target entries here, it'd be at a 1R so far. So the 1R over here would be 5 times 5 times 20 times 1, of course. You'd be at 500. Not a lot, but again, you'd still be in profit, right? So that is that's where we're at right now. I'm giving you guys the raw data right here. This shows you the real numbers of like what's actually happening. Um, yeah, I mean that's kind of where we're at, guys. So if you guys have any other questions, feel free to hop into the chat. It's 8:01 right now. We are past our live trading time. And here we go as price starts to drop back down to the imbalance or to balance price out, right? Let's go back to the volume chart. So remember, I talked about this earlier, guys. In order for price to balance out, it has to come back down to here. It might happen today, it might happen tomorrow. Eventually, it'll probably come back down and balance out because this big push to the upside created a huge, huge imbalance, of course, right? So it created an imbalance from here down to here. So price is likely to pull back to this area here. I mean, there's multiple imbalances here, not just one, but there's multiple, of course. Right? There's two imbalances right here, actually. This is from price act. So this is like looking at the technical imbalance, but looking at the volume imbalance, the actual imbalance is down here. This is where price is considered to be balanced with regard to volume, not off the candlesticks, but based off the volume. Let's see. So let's see. Sean's asking, Sean, can you recommend an indicator that can find impulse like quick price movement? Um, so not necessarily. I don't know any specific indicator. I know I can see it on the chart myself. Like, if I think market profile would probably be like the the best option for you. But like even from there, you kind of have to use your own analysis. I like for me, I don't know if there's a specific indicator for it. PC might have one for you. Like he mentioned there's a script um that you can find. But like for me personally, the way that I look at volume is I look at market profile a lot of times. This will give me like the volume profile of like where, you know, balances and imbalances are sitting. But use this in conjunction with like the candle sizes and whatnot. It kind of gives you a better picture of like what's happening. But yeah, I think the way that you typically look for imbalances, like, the candlesticks, that'll probably give you like a general understanding of like where to find those impulse moves. But if you use this in conjunction with the market profile or the volume profile, those as well will also help you as well. I mean, but I don't have a specific indicator. If I do find one, I'll let you know, Sam. But I think for volume, I like to look at it directly on the chart versus using a specific indicator. It would be nice if there was one. Maybe I should create one. All right, let me check the Zoom real quick. Let's see. CJ said I personally have beef with the 4-week sample data because it keeps putting 702 on the list. I know your spawn is Satan entry right there, right? Yeah, it's been on the list for a while now, looks like. CJ's, let's see, Ed was asking CJ, do you take every entry? CJ said, I don't take the market open and the spawn is Satan. Yeah, so basically, CJ takes every entry except for the market open and the 702 because those entries are usually a little bit tricky. But all right, guys, I think that's it for the day. If you guys have any questions, feel free to hit me up on Discord. Again, like I said, these are our stats. Let me take a screenshot of this. I keep forgetting to take screenshots of our, let me just spread this out a little bit. Post this up over here in the Discord. Yeah, I always tend to forget to post this up, but I mean it's up to you guys if you want to use it or look at it. Either way, I think the spreadsheet's going to be a lot more beneficial to look at with regard to the entries versus, something like this. All right, I'm going to repost the spreadsheet right there. And again, yeah, I posted the link there. So if you want to look at the spreadsheet, I update this every single day. It's going to show every entry that comes up with regard to the algo. And they'll just keep growing as we continue on with our analysis here and our live sessions. But all right, guys, I think that's it for the day. If you guys have any questions, feel free to hit me up. Otherwise, I think this is it. Let's see. CJ said, I know this is random, but I think we should give the algo a name like Warren, Maverick, or Jamal. Yeah, we'll think about it. We'll create a poll and we'll see what we should call this algo. It's got to be something crazy, right? It's got to be something crazy. But all right, guys, I think that's it for the day. If you guys have any questions, feel free to hit me up on Discord. Otherwise, I'll see you guys back here tomorrow. Hopefully, tomorrow we have some good entries. I'm hoping to close out this week with at least one more trade or one trade that I can actually take that I feel confident about. Probably not the 632, something a little lower, but we'll see. There hasn't been very many entries today, so we'll see how the data pulls over the next, I guess, the next 4 week sample. But all right, guys, again, if you guys have any questions, hit me up. Otherwise, I will see you guys here tomorrow.